this is David Comatoy, and welcome to the Vlog Blog podcast part of the show. If you are an entertainer, entrepreneur, e-marketer, if you want to take your project to the next level, then this is the show for you, especially in the new normal, COVID-19. The question is, how do you network? And joining us to answer that question is Steven David Elliot, founder of Rockstar Connect, as well as author of the book Mingle, Face-to-Face Networking in the Digital Era. How do you network in COVID, coming out of COVID? Joining us, Steven David Elliot.
It sounds like a law firm, doesn't it?
It does.
If you're in trouble, call Steven David Elliot. He'll get you out of trouble.
And of course, your name is part of my name, which is always confusing.
It's sort of a weird thing, with the name David. It just really sticks with me. I didn't start using David, my full name, until maybe 10 years ago, and when Google started becoming really big, and you had to be Googleable, and I wanted to be separated from all the other Steven Elliots out there. But prior to that, people would call me David. They just assumed my name was David.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
I guess it's that, Jewish, that Jewish plenum.
It's funny because we actually talk about that in this show. We talk in the segment before, we talked about how to Google yourself and then how it relates back to personal branding. And the fact is that, if you have a generic name or a name that gets searched like a John Smith, then you have to come up with some variation of it.
When you network enough, what's really fun is you get to play games. We're not doing a lot of physical networking now. Physical networking, I guarantee you, will be very big after the election, regardless of who gets into office. There will be a lot of physical networking. Business cards were the most important thing when you go to a networking event. And I have phenomenal business cards, gold-plated and raised, and I would change them every 6 months to the point where all I had on my card, first I take off the website and I take off the address, and then I took off the phone number, and then it just, was my name, and then I left just the initials.
So once again, Steven David Elliot, our guest, author of Mingle, Face-to-Face Networking in the Digital Era, and also Rockstar Connect. You can check out his program at rockstarconnect.com. Just kind of wipe the slate clean for us, Steven David Elliot, and talk to us a little bit about what is Rockstar Connect.
Well, I guess you have to give an origin story, like any comic book, about how Rockstar Connect happened. I started off my career as a social worker, went into working with the elderly, went into marketing. Luckily, learned about sales from a cousin who was a degenerate salesperson, a la Willie Loman, who said, "I'm going to teach you how to eat, my son," and got me into phone sales and made me comfortable doing a close and learning those things. But when I worked with the elderly, I always heard about regret. People regretting that they did not do what they wanted to do in their life. They were going to wait until they retired. I have news for you. When you retire, if you're an entrepreneur and you've retired, you're pretty much dead.
Got it.
So physically you can't do it. Financially, you probably can't do it. You don't have the friends alive to support you. People just don't do what they want to do. And I always wanted to own a bookstore. That was like my family thing. Wouldn't it be great to own a bookstore? So I opened up bookstores. I had 4 bookstores, 2 in North Carolina, 2 in Miami. And that was in the age of Amazon. And despite Amazon, I made a very good living doing what I enjoyed and what I loved. And I did it for 15 years. And people would say, "How are you able to make money?" I said, well, first of all, it's not about the books. It's not about what you sell. It's about the people. And being a guerrilla marketer, I would do things to help people, and they would reward me by doing business with me. Pretty amazing, right?
Right. What a concept, but right, exactly.
What a concept. People will make sure that you're well taken care of if you take care of them. And I tried to distill it down to what was it that I was doing that everyone can do. Like I did, art festivals and author signings. I had my own farmers market, all of these things that would make me well known in the area. Not everybody can do those things. But I did have a networking event that I did consistently all the time. And I said, that really provides me with a lot of help in my business. I'm not a small business when I have a networking event because I have that big tribe and nation of people that are around me. So I called up my brother, and he's a guru in the culinary industry. He's done some very innovative things in it. He's 22 months difference between him and we are extremely competitive with one another.
Oh, wow.
Whether that be the way we work or with our parents for affection. I told him I have this idea where people could, if they had a consistent networking event, if they are in a business that require, making connections, getting leads, getting referrals, if they did a consistent networking event every month, they would never have to do any other form of prospecting. And he said, guess what he said? He said, that's the worst idea I've ever heard. So that was a personal challenge at that point. And someone who came into my bookstore shortly after that conversation, a real estate agent, and she solicited referrals from me. And I said, is that how you guys make your money? Because no real estate agent has ever come to me asking me for referrals before. And she said, yes. And I said, well, let me tell you a little bit about this idea I have. And it was only an idea. I get a call from her the next day. The broker owner of her company would like to have a meeting with me to hear about my idea. And I told him my idea, and he was opening up a checkbook. How much money do you need to do this?
Oh, that's crazy.
And that was so that's my eureka moment. I don't have an idea. I don't have a program. I don't really have a plan. Let me get a real estate license. So the bookstore, which I loved and I thought I was going to do the rest of my life, it was no longer a challenge for me. So I sold my businesses and got a real estate license. I actually went on eBay and bought a whole bunch of suits from a minister in Detroit, like 85 suits for like $50. So you can imagine what these suits were like with 14 buttons. Like Steve Harvey had nothing on me. And I sold my bookmobile, and I bought a Mercedes, and now I'm like killer real estate agent and start doing these events. And I was right. Within just a few months, I was number one.
So funny.
Number one broker in my firm.
Instant branding by buying 85 suits from a preacher. That is just the scream, dude.
And they were the slickest suits. I mean, really just out there. And eBay, for anyone who's an aspiring entrepreneur that's listening to the show, and I imagine many of you are, clothing, you can go on eBay, you can buy Ferragamo, you can buy all that stuff. People saw me right off the bat as that, guy that's going to help them and help them achieve their goals. And I did this great networking event once a month in a restaurant paid for all the food.
Steven David Elliot, our guest, just told us his origin story about basically how he somehow created this Rockstar Connect based on literally someone coming in, talking about networking, and then getting a real estate license, personal branding, which is very fascinating. Let's talk about tenets or qualities of what you learned that really go across all borders. Okay, so one of the greater challenges of networking is networking with people that you don't necessarily need to connect with at that moment. The insurance guy, the MLM guy, you don't own a house and you don't need solar, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to talk about that and about networking in COVID and out of COVID with Steven David Elliot, our guest, when we get back. I'm David Comatoy. Check me out, davidcomatoy.com. We'll be right back. Hang on. davidcomatoy.com here with Steven David Elliot, author of Mingle, Face-to-Face Networking in the Digital Age, but more importantly, founder of Rockstar Connect, and you can check it out at rockstarconnect.com, all about networking. And continuing our conversation, we wanted to talk about specifically what's it like to network with people you don't necessarily need to connect with, or because that is a challenge.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a challenge. But it isn't really. There's ways in life. There's hacks on how to get through anything. The reason why people are not successful when they go to a typical chamber event or a mix and mingle after hours event is they're one amongst many. It's as if they're going to the prom without a date. They don't know who to dance with. They end up hanging out with people they're comfortable with that they already know. Have a couple drinks. Spend a lot of money, achieve nothing, wake up the next day, rinse and repeat.
Sure.
when someone hosts their own event, like our host of Rockstar Connect, we build an event around the host. They are the prom king. They are the homecoming queen. Everybody knows who they are before they go to the event because of the social media connected with the event. When they go to the event, they are featured in such a way that everybody wants to meet them. Then you are the person who is the altruistic leader of the community. You are the rock star. You are providing the environment where people are going to make money, and they're going to want to reward you for doing that. So they're going to make all those connections for you that are your dream connections. For example, we have a financial advisor who's a client of ours in South Florida who now does 5 events with us. He hosts events in 5 different cities. In his first 3 months of his event, in addition to the normal life insurance policies that he sold 3 $30 million policies.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so we're talking commission in excess of $3 million. Now, that wasn't because those people came to his event. In actuality, people that came to his event that he ended up having one-on-ones with and did follow-up said, the program that you have would be great for my business partner, or my cousin, or my father, who all happen to be extremely wealthy, successful business people. Can I make that connection for you? So that's the way you utilize it. So the larger your tribe is, the larger of your network and your sphere of influence is, the more likely you are to get the business that you want. So, for example, I sell real estate. As well. That's one of the other things I do. I also have a financial service company and a transaction company and other things that we do. We have a full marketing agency as well. I get a Facebook message from someone who went to my event 6 months ago. This person is a very nice person. I don't believe they're particularly affluent, but they said, hey, I have a friend who's, because of COVID, wants to move out of California. I'm giving them your number. So what do we have? We have a referral for a $2 million home. And my market, that's going to end up being, $50,000 to $60,000 commission for me. And that person didn't even come to my event. But I'm so nice to the people that come to the event because I genuinely love them. They become my family. They have that hustle, and they want to help me succeed, and I want to help them succeed. Exactly. And I know that I'm always going to get the business that I want.
I think that there's a very specific thing about, especially now as we move, we've had challenges as this next generation is coming up in the social media age with connecting, and I think that's something that people we need to reinforce again, because it's so strongly about relationship first. And that's what your events do. And getting to know people, especially, coming out of digital into COVID, it's more important. I tell people all the time, like for instance, we had a friend of mine, one of our team members, he goes, oh man, I just got lambasted by this guy who said I didn't respond to his message on Facebook. And I told him, I said, you need to pick up the phone and call him and say, you are still in my phone. And my phone is so much more important than Facebook or social media. If you call me and I don't call you back, we have a problem. But so that's why I think there's a weird alignment that people have now over prioritizing social media, texting over like, hey, pick up the phone and call me. Because if you pick up the phone and call me, unless something's really wrong, I'm going to answer. I'm going to talk to you.
Networking is as old as man himself. I mean, they were networking at God's bris. That's how old networking is. For those of you who don't know what a bris is, God had one very, very long time ago. So very long time we've been networking. But throughout networking, we've had tools. So prehistoric time, you wrote on a cave wall. When I started off in sales, it was the Rolodex. I was the king of the Rolodex, king of the referral. People wanted to meet me because they knew who I was connected to and how I could make those introductions. And sometimes you need to be, the introduction is you don't need to be introduced to the boss. You need to be introduced to the boss's secretary.
Correct.
Recognize that the doorkeeper is more important sometimes than the person you have to speak to. Please them, and you're going to have impact when you meet with the person you want to meet with. Today, it's Facebook, it's social media. We've transcended. It's a tool, though. I mean, it enables us to handle much more contacts, much more leads when we use a CRM, when we use Facebook, and we use LinkedIn, so that you can grow an enormous network. So my local network here in Raleigh, North Carolina, where I live, is a mailing list of about 20,000 people.
That's fantastic.
That's a great mailing list. My national mailing list is over 100,000 people that are, if they're not familiar with me, they're familiar with my brand.
Absolutely.
They've gone to my event.
And we've seen, being in the email marketing CRM business, we've seen that those are the magic targets that we try to get people to approach. It's like, as soon as you hit 100,000, the list becomes its own entity. It's like, it really does become an asset. It's a really great target that you've proved that a business entrepreneur, someone building a personal brand can do. You don't necessarily need a national radio show to do it. But you got to have some sort of content, some sort of driven thing. That's great.
Well, and then once you have that list, protect that list. Maybe a lot of this is very simplistic to them. They know how to network. I'm a lazy networker. I love to have an event that I can point to, a value proposition, and all the marketing associated with it, so I can network more efficiently. But now is the time to do your ask in COVID. That's when you reach out to other people that you have in your network and say, how can I help you, and how can I help make money for you and myself at the same time?
Hey, this is David Comatoy, and this is your call to action, action, action. Action number 1, please like, subscribe, and comment on whatever platform you are watching. That helps us out a lot. Number 2, join the email list. Join our direct circle of influence. We have free reports and webinars and all that stuff on using our own jugglemail.com system. Of course, that's a shameless plug. And action number 3, if you need to talk to us about a project, yourself, your brand, if you need a brainstorm, please send us a message at comatoymediagroup.com. Once again, I'm David Comatoy. You're watching KMG TV on KZTC7 in San Diego.